Hi guys, it's JoINrbs here, and in this series I am reviewing the 8 main classes in Long War II, and I'll be doing separate videos for the early, mid, and late games of each class. So today we're looking specifically at the early game Sharpshooter. Before I get into the Sharpshooter in general, I want to explain a couple of concepts that I'm going to be using to sort of create metrics for rating these perks so I can put a number on them rather than just saying like, oh, it's good or oh, it's bad. Now, they're not exactly perfect. It's a very complicated game and I'm just looking at two numbers. But the two numbers that I'm going to be using are an alpha rating or an alpha strike rating. And this rating is about how good a perk is or how good a soldier is at killing enemies before they can do anything. So as enemies walk into you, you'll often take overwatch shots against them, and then you have a turn to attack them after they've scampered. And if you can kill all of them in that like 1.5 turns, basically, they don't get to attack you. And soldiers who are very good at alpha striking will be able to do that more consistently than soldiers who aren't. The other rating I'm going to be talking about is a break rating or breakdown rating. And this represents how well a soldier or a perk can perform when the alpha strike fails, when things start to break down. Perhaps a pod patrols in from your flank while you're not on Overwatch at all. Perhaps, you miss some shots and all of a sudden there are some active enemies. And so enemies are attacking you, your soldiers are taking wounds, maybe taking will tests, taking psi attacks, things like that. And a soldier with a high breakdown rating will perform very well in that situation. Perhaps by killing enemies, that's the same sort of principle as alpha striking, but also perhaps by having good survivability, having the ability to control enemies with things like sting grenades or arc throwers, or just having good flexibility to, reposition to good tiles and control important spaces and things like that. So, the Sharpshooter is a very interesting class and fits into this rating system worse than the other two classes I've covered so far, the Ranger and the Technical, because the Sharpshooter has very cumulative builds. There's like a hollow targeting build, there's death from above build, and there are a few other less cumulative builds which sort of peter and meander through the tree. That said, we can pretty confidently say that Sharpshooters are not great in the early game. I gave them a 3 out of 10 for alpha striking and a 2 out of 10 in breakdowns. I think generally at Squaddy, a Sharpshooter is going to be worse than a rookie would be. They're not very good. Just not very good. The thing that cripples the Sharpshooter is that in the early game, a part of the game that's heavily built around consumable use and cooldown usage in order to, clear all of the enemies off the map without having to rely on your low aim soldiers shooting with ballistic weapons against enemies in cover or whatever. Sharpshooters don't have consumables or cooldowns really at Squaddy, and they actually are forced to carry this big gun which cannot move and shoot, so you can't like move and take flanking shots on things, and has -3 mobility attached to it. So you can't equip an SMG and run around throwing grenades at things, which is how you'd usually approach the situation with a weak soldier. You just say, okay, well, you're not going to do anything useful, so I'll give you an SMG so you can run around, and I'll give you frag grenades, because those are reliable damage, and they deal a good amount of damage at the start of the game. Not really a possibility for Sharpshooters. You can give them frag grenades, but they're always going to be encumbered by the large sniper rifle. So, until they start to pick up some perks, Sharpshooters are very unexciting. And in particular, they don't excel on timed guerrilla operations, which happen to be the missions that are generally offered to you at the start of the campaign. You don't start playing untimed troop columns or supply raids or the big, huge, large map missions like headquarter assaults until much later in the campaign. And those are the missions that Sharpshooters come into their own on. So the early game is largely, in terms of Sharpshooters, it's largely about finding missions which are easy enough for them to go on and putting them in team compositions with soldiers strong enough to carry them through missions, because they're just not going to perform that well on their own. A few caveats, but that's the general idea. All right, so let's look at some perks. This is a very interesting tree, to be sure. At Lance Corporal, we're picking between Death from Above, Rapid Targeting, and Snapshot. And these perks are all competitive and all very different. I'm going to talk about Snapshot first because I think it's the least acknowledged of the 3 perks and probably the strongest early in the game, in all honesty. Now, Snapshot, I gave a 7 out of 10 for Alpha Striking and a 7 out of 10 for Breakdown, which is very good, especially on a soldier I've just said is very bad in this stage of the game. The reason for that is that Snapshot removes the restriction that says you can't move and shoot with the sniper rifle. And it's incredible how much that does for this soldier, because the sniper rifle has Squadsight range. And so what you create is a soldier who can quite easily flank and take shots against enemies at no risk to the soldier's own safety. It's a very big deal. It's equivalent to having a marksman's rifle on a sniper in Long War I if you played Long War I and can understand what that sort of does to enable the soldier to maneuver around the battlefield. Now, I just said a bunch of stuff about how the sniper rifle sucks and everything, but it has 4 to 6 base damage, which is very good. It's 1 more than an assault rifle. It's more than a cannon does. It's more than the gunner deals. It's a very high damage weapon, and you're unlocking its ability to fire at enemies who are flanked and the like in a way that's very valuable. Even on legend difficulty, if you're removing the cover from an enemy with a frag grenade and then shooting them, you don't really need 4 to 6 damage. Unless it's like specifically an officer, you might need 4 damage. But in general, like, you're gonna kill sectoids with Shinobis with swords. Basically always. That's what you're trying to do with sectoids, so don't worry about them. And they're not even that threatening to begin with. You wouldn't usually use a frag to uncover sectoids. And so the guys you're shooting at who aren't in cover in the early game typically are either getting flanked, which is something the sharpshooter can't do without Snapshot, or they're at like 2 hit points. So like an SMG is fine, an assault rifle is fine. You don't really see much value out of the extra damage that the sniper rifle has. Snapshot lets you get around to flank full health enemies, and from that position, the fact that you're dealing 4 to 6 damage is very important. All of a sudden, if you're shooting at a 5 hit point sentry, having that 4 to 6 damage range really matters a lot. So, that's the basic idea of what Snapshot does. What Snapshot doesn't do very well is unlock your sharpshooter's ability to perform at extremely long range. Now, it doesn't make you worse at it anymore. In earlier iterations of Long War II, taking Snapshot actually forced you to always take Snapshot-style shots, and those shots have aim fall off the further away you are from the enemy that's much greater than a regular sniper's squad sight fall off is. All snipers except Death from Above snipers, this is getting confusing already, isn't it, have some aim fall off as they shoot beyond 5 tiles out of sight range. So Snapshot used to actually make that worse, but now Snapshot's been changed. It only makes it worse if you've moved before you shoot. So you can use the sniper as a stationary threat from longer range without too huge an aim fall off, or you can move and shoot and try to hover around 5 tiles beyond visual range, and you don't have to worry about overwatches from there. You don't have to worry too much about enemies moving forward and attacking you. You don't have to worry as much about triggering yellow alerts on the soldier. So there are a lot of great things about this. It lets you build a soldier who doesn't have to worry so much about hit points and can be equipping offensive consumables. You can throw a med kit on the soldier, which is nice to have on some of these missions. Stuff like that. Rapid targeting. I rated 4 for alpha and 5 for breakdown, but if you're picking rapid targeting here, it's with an eye toward comboing it with other holo targeting perks, most likely. So it's definitely not the highest strength Lance Corporal perk as you take your Lance Corporal perk, but it can be a very strong perk as things develop, and it's also quite valuable early in the game. I gave it 4 and 5, which is not terrible. It's not terrible. The things that rapid targeting does, which are very good early in the game, are 1, it lets the sharpshooter move and do something valuable at longer range. So you can move, rapid target, target something else, or you can rapid target at the start of your turn, then shoot something. It gives your sharpshooter slightly more action economy on a soldier who's really limited from the fact that it has to either stay stationary and shoot or move and like do nothing without some help from perks. And 2, it turns 90% to hits into 100% to hits, which is huge in a stage of the campaign where like you're relying very heavily on Shinobis who have, you know, around 90% to hit, and they're like 7 to 9 damage. So turning all of your Shinobis misses into hits all of a sudden using holo targeting is extremely valuable. It can remove a huge number of the fail cases that you might experience early in the campaign and iron those out for you. Make sure that the missions are going smoothly, prevents wounds, prevents, you know, nasty things happening. And the game has some divergent variants, so if you get through the early game without too many wounds and deaths and the like, you're in a very good position, and from there you can really leverage your position and start to take bigger and bigger leaps in the strategic and tactical game. Preventing wounds when your Shinobi misses the 90% attack or grazes the 90% attack because you took rapid targeting and were able to get a holo target off for it is one way that you're going to be able to move toward that situation, in my opinion. Death from above at Lance Corporal, I rated 3 out of 10 for alpha striking, 2 out of 10 for breakdowns. I think this perk is terrible at Lance Corporal. It's also like an extremely abusive, extremely strong perk as the campaign goes on, though. So you'll very often take death from above. And in general, I would say that these perks are like, you take snapshot if you're interested in the soldier being very good right now. You take rapid targeting if you want the soldier to be okay and develop into good potential later, but don't need it to be amazing right now. And you take death from above if you really just don't care about the soldier performing in the slightest, but want it to be as strong as possible later. So I think Snapshot and Death from Above are pretty straightforward builds. I'm going to take the rapid targeting build for this soldier as we build it, just to show what happens. But you can do all 3 of the above, and all 3 develop into really nice soldiers. The thing about Sharpshooters is you're never taking away the fact that they have Squadsight, and nothing else on Xcom has Squadsight, and that's really valuable. It means that you can deal damage to tiles that nobody else can deal damage to safely. It means that you can take tiles that nobody else can use efficiently, and it just creates another dimension to your battle, which is really nice. Okay. Corporal perks. Let's talk about Phantom real quick. I rated this 1 out of 10 for alpha striking and 1 out of 10 for breakdowns. I think the perk is trash. There's one reason to use Phantom, and that's if you're going all in on the holo targeting build. If you're planning to use it as a force multiplier and you want to be able to holo target stuff before it pulls. So you're going to have the sharpshooter basically as your spotter. Now, even if you're going to do that, holo targeting works at Squadsight range. That's like sharpshooters work at Squadsight range. So you can just spot with a Shinobi. Like, you don't have to take Phantom here. You can take one of the perks that makes your soldier deal more damage or something when the soldier shoots, and your soldier doesn't have to be concealed the entire time. You can have a Shinobi scout officer concealed and have a holo targeting sharpshooter who's visible but at Squadsight range and able to holo target pods. And the idea of the build is that like you holo target the pod and then it's holo targeted, and on its turn it moves into your overwatches and takes far more damage than usual, because holo targeting, as it scales up through the game, starts to be like 20% aim and 20% crit, and that's a huge amount once dedicated Overwatch builds come online as well. I also don't like that build very much because if you can engineer pods patrolling into your Overwatches consistently, I just don't think you need another 20 aim and 20 crit. There's just some point at which the situation's so good for you that you need to start worrying about the times that it doesn't work out. So anyway, I've never taken Phantom on a sharpshooter, and I imagine that I never will. Damn Good Ground is... It's an immediately intriguing perk. It gives plus 10 aim and plus 10 defense against targets at a lower elevation. So there seems to be an obvious combo there with Death from Above. Death from Above, I shouldn't actually say what it does. Death from Above refunds one action when you kill something that you have elevation advantage on, and it also prevents your aim from falling off past the edge of Squadsight range, whether or not you have elevation advantage on something. So you're thinking, okay, I'll take death from above, I'll take damn good ground, I'll have this sharpshooter who never misses, who sits on the roof of a building a long way away from everything and just shoots something every turn. And then typically with death from above, you get a refunded action and you use it to use a like elite stock to get plus 25 aim, plus 25 crit for the next turn. This typically the extra action goes toward using a stock. You can also use the extra action plus command to take another shot that turn, or you can always just use the extra action to holo target something or reload. They're all pretty solid. The problem with damn good ground is you don't need another 10 aim on this death from above soldier. You really need the +1 damage from center mass because you have to be able to guarantee kills, or if you're not guaranteeing them, you at least want to be as confident as possible that you're hitting them. And yeah, you're gonna hit 100% chance to hit without damn good ground and a death from above soldier, and you're going to need that extra center mass damage to unlock the full potential a little bit better. So typically never going damn good ground here. There's also something to be said for in the same way that you don't really need the situation to be even better when you're engineering Overwatch ambushes against every enemy pod. You don't really need the situation to be even better when you have a sharpshooter beyond line of sight of enemies in the high ground. That's just a good situation for you. And you probably need to be worrying about the times where you like bring 2 sharpshooters to a mission and you don't get high ground, because those are the ones where you probably lose the campaign. The ones where your sharpshooters are on high ground, you probably wipe the map really easily, even if you didn't take a perk like damn good ground. Alright, center mass I gave 8 for alpha striking and 7 for breakdown. I think it's an extremely good and clearly powerful perk on sharpshooters. It makes the snapshot build, you know, approaching ridiculous because you have this soldier who can move and shoot and was dealing 4 to 6 and is now suddenly dealing 5 to 7. That's how much a mag rifle does, I think. Slightly less. It's a lot of damage. It's an awful lot of damage at this stage in the campaign. And so you'll be taking center mass, I think, in every build here. Snapshot to center mass makes a soldier who can, you know, move and consistently kill tier 1 advent without even really thinking about it. Rapid targeting into center mass gives you a soldier who, while stationary, gets to, you know, maybe holo target 3 different things in one turn, or holo target 1 thing and take a shot. Or before enemies pull, you can rapid target, holo target, and then you have 3 holo targets on the enemies as they run into your Overwatch ambush. That's pretty easy to just sort of accidentally happen upon if you have a Shinobi stealth on a mission. But also the center mass is making the soldier deal a huge amount of damage. And then death from above, you want to be able to kill stuff, so you want that +1 damage. It's a fairly straightforward level up, I would say. Not a very complicated decision there. Sergeant's another fairly interesting one. Lone Wolf suffers from almost exactly all the same problems that I just explained Damn Good Ground has. I like Lone Wolf a little bit more than Damn Good Ground because it can pick up the slack in situations where you don't have high ground for your sharpshooters. You can just put them off in a corner by themselves somewhere. And sure, they're not getting the extra bonuses for having high ground, but they are picking up 10 aim. The 10 defense isn't going to be very relevant there. It's basically all about the 10 aim. That said, I rated it 4 for alpha striking, 3 for breakdowns, and in general, I think there are better options at this tier, so I think I've taken it like once. Precision shot, I rated 7 for alpha striking and 6 for breakdowns. Gives you plus 30 to crit chance and a 33% bonus crit damage, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. This is just a very, very nice ability. It makes it so that you kill something more often. It lets you deal a whole lot more damage. I haven't done the math on it, but it must be, in normal circumstances, somewhere in the vicinity of 1 damage, 1.5 damage average that you're gaining on this shot. And it's also very good for smoothing out variance, because often you'll be able to engineer situations in a campaign where you're like reaching up towards 70% crit thanks to your stock maybe somebody's holo targeting something for you, maybe it's exposed, maybe you have a laser sight, because sharpshooters actually get so much aim later in the campaign that you can start to think about laser sights instead of scopes. And precision shot turns that 70% crit into a 100% crit, which is great. So precision shot is my typical pick if my sharpshooter is going to be shooting. And then if we are going for a rapid targeting build, we can take high definition holo, which just the holo targeter usually gives you plus 10 aim, and high definition holo makes it give you plus 10 aim and plus 10 crit with like the tier 2 and tier 3 holo targeter, upping those numbers a little bit each time. So yeah, typically at Sergeant, we're taking precision shot. And I think that corporal, like late corporal, early sergeant is where sharpshooters start to pick up. Once you get laser sniper rifles, which unfortunately are gated behind advanced laser weapons, and that's quite a big deal. All of your soldiers who like rifles get their upgrades like 2 weeks earlier than your soldiers who like laser sharpshooting sniper rifle. They're called sniper rifles. Then your soldiers who like sniper rifles or cannons or shotguns, those ones have to wait longer, and it sucks. But yeah, when you're hitting around Sergeant on these sharpshooters, assuming you're able to generate some extremely light guerrilla ops that they can get dragged through to get level ups, this is where they're starting to really come into their own. And it's also coincidentally when you're probably going to start seeing untimed missions like network towers, like supply raids, like troop columns, like UFO captures. If you're playing the strategic layer as aggressively and as optimally as you can, and you understand how to generate those sorts of missions, the first time on legend difficulty that you can reliably be generating them is about when your soldiers are hitting Sergeant. And so it's nice that this sharpshooter starts to come online right there. And tomorrow I'll be talking about mid-game sharpshooters, and I'll get to start talking about sharpshooters in situations that they're thriving in, rather than in situations where they're sort of struggling for air, which is how I would describe them in early game. So I hope you guys enjoyed the review of early game sharpshooters. I know that sharpshooters are a struggle for a lot of people who get going in Long War II. They're looking for them to be really strong straight from the start. And what they find is that they don't excel in these early missions with throwing together squads and stuff. Sharpshooters are soldiers who come into their own in a way that really nobody else can as you hit mid and late game and are able to craft squads around their ability to deal very reliable, very high damage from complete safety against enemies with no ability to attack back. And we're going to start being able to get into that tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I want to say, if you're interested in strategic layer insight and stuff like that, I've been collaborating with Filthy Robot over at youtube.com/filthyrobot on a tutorial campaign for Long War II, where we talk in extreme depth about all of our strategic decisions, as well as the tactical decisions in missions. And so you should check out his channel, check out that series. If you're only interested in the strategic layer, the videos are labeled with which ones are strategic, so you could just, watch each of the strategic layer videos, put it at 2x speed or something, and just skim through them real quick and see what we're doing. It's a really cool resource, and Filthy and I are going to work on some more production value-y formal guide videos for that strategic layer stuff as well, which you can look forward to seeing sometime soon. But yeah, check those out if you're looking for more information from me. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time with Mid-Game Sharpshooters.